everybody. Happy Tuesday. I hope that wherever you are in the world that you are safe and well. So, welcome. So, you may or may not know that April is actually Stress Awareness Month. And this is a stress awareness month that is global. It's recognized globally. You should also know that I have a stress management class, Feel, Reveal, Heal Stress Management class, that teaches you healthy, holistic ways to manage and cope with stress, both personally and professionally. So today we are going to talk about stress eating. Why? Because COVID is real and a lot of us have just been stuck in the house with our refrigerators, with our emotions. Okay, so stress eating it's something that's extremely common. So I wanted to take the time today to kind of acknowledge stress eating, give you a little bit more insight as to why we do what we do. Oh my gosh, Shafika, let me tell you, I am making vegan nachos tomorrow. You hear me? Tomorrow. So, but we want to develop healthy relationships with food. So that's what today is all about, because I feel like this is one of our number one unhealthy coping mechanisms. There's nothing wrong with being a foodie, but with everything, it's all about moderation and keeping that relationship healthy and not allowing it to turn into an addiction or an obsession. So without further ado, I have a special guest today. She is a nutrition coach. She is a nutrition coach, and she will be sharing her expertise with us. I'm actually going to allow her to introduce herself. So, Tamesha, I'm getting you in here. Bear with me while I add you on. All right, guys, you know that I'm not technologically savvy, so okay, Tamesha, it's saying that you will need the latest version of Instagram in order for you to join me. Oh my goodness, look at all these little things I'm doing. Yeah, I want all that off. That's gonna really distract me. Okay. So while I am waiting on Tamesha to upload that, I am going to keep going, talking a little bit about stress before we get started. Stress is actually inherited. So the way that we cope with stress is actually something that we inherit from the people in our families. Now, again, it's okay to be a foodie. It's okay to love food. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But again, we want healthy relationships with food. Oftentimes, our relationships with foods are based off of love and reward. So what do I mean by that? Think of old sayings that say, oh, food is the way to a man's heart. Or even breastfeeding, right? Or we give food for reward, right? After we've done a job well done, our parents may have taken us to get ice cream. So that does something to us psychologically, and it makes us feel as though we have to reward ourselves with food, and it causes us to self-medicate with food. So our relationship with food, it's also physical as well. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, you made it. Yeah.
I did. I guess I learned that you're supposed to update your app before you go live. Uh-oh.
You know what? We are learning together because Instagram actually it's different for you to join. The button looks different. So I was like going through all these filters. I was like, that's not it. That's not it, Hathor. That's not it. So yay, I'm so glad that you could make it. Yes, yes, yes. Ring light popping. Listen, mine is in the mail. It's coming. It's Yes, you are looking great. You're great. Okay, so this is Miss Tamesha Campbell. She is a nutrition coach. So, Tamesha, before we get into our discussion, I just want you to introduce yourself to my audience. So, I would love to know what inspired your interest in becoming a nutrition coach.
Ooh, you asking the hard questions. I love it.
Oh,
So
for who?
yeah, I know. It's like, wait, was I prepared? I am. We didn't talk about it. I just can't act like I wasn't prepared. But thank you so much. I appreciate being able to be introduced to your audience. So, hi, everyone. I'm Tamesha, and I actually became a nutrition coach because one of the things I struggled with a lot was stress eating and binge eating. So, my path to nutrition was actually to help myself. So, I can honestly say that I was trying to figure out, like, how do I navigate the fact that I love food, but food is no longer loving me back? I can't just exercise it away. I can't just eat less and less and less. That's no longer working anymore. So what I did is I got my nutrition certification so that I can help myself learn how to lose the weight in a sustainable way. And then it was like through that process, and of course, you share your journey on Instagram and Facebook just because you share it. I don't know why we think everybody cares about what we're doing in life, but I thought everyone did. And it was like people were interested in what I had to say and were like, well, how did you do that? And I was like, oh, I guess people want to know. So I started sharing with my friends and family, and that actually helped me use that certification to actually support people as a coach. But originally I was just trying to help myself, to be honest. But it was like through that process that I end up learning, oh no, it's actually helping others.
Right. I think it's really important that when we get knowledge to share it with others.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely feel like oftentimes we try and change the world, and really we just need to be the change that we want to see in the world for ourselves. And once it works, maybe you can pass it on, but if it doesn't, you can just keep it to yourself. You know what? We're still developing. We're still under construction. So don't worry about it, but it's coming soon. So I totally love that. Okay, so we want to talk about next, or my next question is, what is your specialty? Because I absolutely love what it is that you specialize in as far as nutrition is concerned. So could you share a little bit more of that with us?
Definitely. Yeah, and I realized I forgot to mention that part. So I actually specifically work with women with autoimmune disease because that's also what I had. And I kind of learned through this process of like when I was dealing with the stress eating, I didn't realize that it was really some underlying symptoms of autoimmune conditions that I didn't even know I had. So one of the things that I love doing is really helping people make those diet and lifestyle changes because I know how difficult it was for me to kind of not only identify that I had these foods that I had sensitivities to and intolerances to that I ate for years. And now all of a sudden it was like anything I ate, I would either get this bloated stomach or anything I ate, I would feel ill afterwards. So it was like going through this process of navigating, like making those changes to my diet and making those changes to my lifestyle that I discovered, okay, I finally got diagnosed with an autoimmune condition too. But the lucky part about it was I was already making those changes. So for me, the transition was easier. And like with my doctors, they were like, you just need to do this, this, and this. And I was able to implement it because I had the nutrition background. But then I started thinking, but what about all these other people who don't have a nutrition background? Like, what are they supposed to do? Like, I know what it means when they say have an anti-inflammatory diet, but like, does everyone else know what that means? Like, I know what it means when they're like, you should eat grass-fed or lean meats, but does other people know that? So it's like, helping people navigate that is what I love doing just because I realized, oh, if I had known this earlier, I could have made some quicker changes. But I look at all the people who don't even have the basic foundational knowledge. Like, what are they going to do?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And especially when we relate emotional or stress eating to our emotions, and how we relate it to stress, because stress is actually the cause or complication of 90% of chronic diseases. And also, for those of you that are watching who aren't familiar with autoimmune diseases, it's basically, in my experience, where you are exposed to stress consistently for so long that your body begins to fight itself. Where it was once there to protect you from bacteria, viruses, your body gets so stressed out that it starts to not even be able to recognize that it's fighting and hurting itself. So, with what you're saying, this information, as far as foods that are anti-inflammatory, this is good for people who also don't even have autoimmune diseases as well. This knowledge can be used as preventative care as well.
Agree. And that's, I love how you said it's preventative. And that's what I think that is so important, is that I didn't even realize that I could have prevented myself from getting into disease. Like, I was just waiting for it to happen because I just assumed, oh, everyone else in my family has, you know, either diabetes or this or that, that I'm going to eventually get something. I didn't even realize that, like, no, you don't have to get something. To your point, if you take these preventative steps early on, if you focus on your stress management and do the stuff that you're teaching people how to do, it's like, you may prevent yourself from ever getting to disease.
Listen, I'll be a bit vulnerable here. I come from a long line of women who die young, and I share this with you. And we're dying from things like congestive heart failure, diabetes, cancer. And again, these things are preventative. But again, our relationship with stress as well as food is something that is inherited. Okay, so not necessarily the conditions, because we are conditioned and told that the conditions are hereditary, but it's really our response and our symptoms that are hereditary, if that makes sense. So for me, it was, again, having that awareness, having that knowledge. Wow, if your great great grandma made hog mogs, and she taught your great grandma how to cook hog mogs, and your great grandma taught your grandma, and your grandma taught your mom, and your mom taught you. This isn't necessarily hereditary, it's habitual. And
Mm-hmm.
you have to be the one to break that cycle. But again, that requires awareness. That requires knowing that there are options, right? The transition was a bit easier for you because you spoke the jargon. You understood exactly where your physicians were coming from. And I think that it's really important to get this knowledge out there. So I want to ask you next, to backdoor with that. What are some of the symptoms that are related to autoimmune diseases that may not be specific to a particular autoimmune disease?
Oh, that's a good one too. Because I know, like, and this one is a tricky one because when they say inflammation, most people are like, I didn't realize, even I didn't understand what that means. But to your point, it was like what we were talking about earlier, where your body is attacking itself. And like a good example is like if you get like a cut or a bruise, you know, you get a little sore. Oh, I cut my finger, I get a little sore, and then, you know, the blood rushes there. But it's like when you look at inflammation, it's like your body is constantly getting little cuts. It's like your body is constantly feeling this pain and you don't understand it. So for a lot of people, they may notice things like weight gain. And then people go to, oh, I just need to make a change to my diet. But to me, stuff like weight gain, things like fatigue, things like joint pain, those are sometimes little symptoms that are trying to tell you something is actually wrong, and it's trying to get your attention. It's like your body is saying to yourself, like, here, listen to me. But we don't listen. We instead say, oh, I need to go stop eating this, or oh, I need to exercise more. But it's like, no, 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 no. Your body is sending you little signals. And if you just dive a little bit deeper and kind of try to figure out, but why am I gaining this weight? But why am I feeling fatigued all the time? But what, you know, when you start asking that why question, then you can get down to the deeper part, and especially when it comes to stress. Because, you know, if you're constantly stressed at work, if you're constantly stressed at home, because we're always home now, if you're constantly stressed about stuff that you're seeing on social media, like all of that compounds. And then you're going to bed with that stress and you're waking up with that stress and it never ends. That can lead to disease because your body is constantly in a fight mode, in a flight mode, when it's never getting down to like that rest and digest where you can like relax and be calm. Hopefully I answered your question.
Right. Absolutely. And that has to do with your nervous system. So again, these are reactions. These are things that your body does naturally. And even to add on to that fight or flight, there's also freeze. Okay. So constipation can also be a sign. Okay. Getting those locked up like, man, I just realized that I haven't gone number two or to drop a deuce or whatever the political correct terminology is. I'm not sure. But it all really does tie in together. So I really, really, really love that. So now that we've kind of gotten into this conversation a little bit more, Tamesha, I would love for you to share what service it is that you actually provide.
Yeah, what I do is I provide one-on-one coaching services because one of the things that I think is so important for people to do is personalize your diet and lifestyle plan. Because I used to be that template person. Like, I love myself a template. Give me a guide. Let me go follow step by step. But the problem is that people don't adapt those things. And like, I follow, the autoimmune protocol. I have other friends who follow ketogenic diets or vegan diets, and those are good. But you always want to make sure that you personalize it to make sure that it actually fits you. What are the foods that work for your body? What are the foods that don't work for your body? Because for me, bananas work not at all. Like, I can't do any type of bananas or plantains, but there's nothing unhealthy about that. It just doesn't work for my body. So I work with clients to help them kind of identify what are the foods that work for you. And then also, how do we make sure that you can incorporate those foods into your diet? Because some of my clients are entrepreneurs. They don't have a lot of time. So they're like, I'm not going to plan every single one of my meals, Tamesha. What places can I buy these things from? Where can I buy that's healthy? Whereas other people are like, you know what? I really want to be more budget conscious. So I kind of need to buy all my stuff. Okay, so how can we plan meals that don't take you 3 hours to spend in the kitchen? Because we ain't got all day to do all of that. So that's where I really help my clients do, is kind of find that middle that works for them. And, so we do start with a template of like a couple of different, I don't want to say rules, guidelines that you can follow, but then how can we make it easier for you to follow and you to keep it sustainable? Because lots of us can follow a diet for like 30 days, but on day 31, we're like, I'm going to the Golden Arches. I don't want you to do that.
Right. Right. And I love that you said that it needs to be personalized. I think that's so important. People get so caught up in this one size fits all wellness, and it's really about doing what's best for you. But that intention and that awareness needs to be there. I feel like that's really the main difference, is being intentional with what it is that you're putting in your body and actually taking the time to know and realize, hey, bananas don't agree with me. Like, I am a vegan, but I always tell people I'm not a self-righteous vegan. I feel like do what you do, but watch my shoes. You know what I mean? You can get loose, but watch my shoes. You know what I mean? Because we really have to be realistic. We have to be realistic with ourselves, because if not, trying to change your diet and realizing that stress eating is, again, not only something that affects you physically, but mentally as well, you can get overwhelmed, and that's going to stress you out even more. And that causes you to freeze. That causes you to just be like, you know what, forget it. I'm just not going to do it. And so actually making a lifestyle plan and a change is important, because it's a marathon. It's not, okay, well, 30 days from now, this is a lifestyle. This is something that you have to continue. And because of that, you really, really need to make it something that you can keep up. Like, for me, when I went vegan, I didn't just wake up one day and I was like, you know what? No more meat. We in this thing. Here we go. Yeah, girl's vegan. Here we go. Right? I incrementally removed things from my diet. First, it was beef and pork. I was like, all right, I'm living. I'm alive still. Your girl still got a pulse. So I'm not wasting away. So up next, all right, I'm gonna let go of this chicken. I love you. I love you, chicken, for everything that you've done. You've gotten me this far. I've survived off of you. You got me through my youth.
Yes.
However, comma, it's about time that I let you go as well. So I really love that. So let's get into craving. So there are a couple of studies as to what causes stress eating. And I was talking to you about this not so new craze called intuitive eating. And I would like for you to elaborate a little bit more on that, and then I'll add my 2 cents.
I love that. Oh, yes. Intuitive eating. We were talking about this because this is something that it took me a little bit, I'm not going to lie, to kind of understand. And that's why I had to read the book. So I always recommend people to read the book because it's very researchy in the beginning. I'm not going to lie. But after you get past the big science part, then it makes it easier to break down the concepts. But the idea of intuitive eating is that all of us, when we were born, when we were kids, we all knew how to eat intuitively, or we all knew what foods worked for us and didn't work for us. But it was like, as we got older and you started having your parents tell you, no, this is not good for you to eat, or no, this is bad for you to eat. Oh, you can only eat this during this time. Oh, you can only eat this during that time. Then we started becoming more judgmental about the foods that we eat. So then we went to, and one thing they talk about there, and I really resonate with this concept, is the diet rebel. For me, I used to be very high into dieting. So I went from one extreme of being kind of like the diet evangelist, where like I stuck to specific rules. I only ate what the rules told me I could eat, to the other extreme of becoming the diet rebel, where it's like, I'll eat all the things. I cheat. Every day was a cheat day, because of the fact you go from one extreme to another. But intuitive eating is about coming to this happy middle where you just ask yourself, what foods do I want to eat? You give yourself permission to eat whatever you choose. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you go ham and you just go eat and eat and eat, but you don't actually feel restricted because you're not saying I can only eat this during this period of time. And one thing that helps for a lot of people who have kind of come from the more restrictive background is it gives yourself the permission to say no. Like, I didn't necessarily feel like I had the permission to say no on like my Saturday cheat days, because it was like, well, this is the only day I have to eat this stuff, so I need to eat it all. I got to get it in. Versus
Yeah.
now I'm like, well, I can eat that donut anytime, and I don't even want a donut right now. Or if, we talked about the other day with cravings, or if I'm craving something like, oh, I'm craving mustard at this moment, which is such a weird thing to crave, but you're like, oh, it's not the mustard that I'm craving. I'm actually missing calcium. So I'm missing a macronutrient. So it's like, you don't judge yourself because you're like, what does this craving really mean? Versus like, all cravings are bad, because they're not.
I agree. And my friend Shafika said in the comments, no to food guilt. That is
Yeah.
against a personal relationship. And it's so true. Again, so I'll even go back to veganism. Like, I feel like veganism has been like hijacked by like these super staunch, like, if you eat honey, you're not vegan. And it's like, honey, get a grip. I want you to really get a good one. All 5 phalanges, I want you to hold on. I want you to get that grip, and I want you to keep it. And if you do this again, just, you know what I mean? I mean, just get a grip. Just get a grip, okay? So yeah, I love that because again, we don't allow ourselves to be humans. This is a relationship that with any relationship, it took years and years for us to build. So it's going to take time for us to change it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, being realistic, I feel like there's nothing wrong with being ambitious. And I have this saying that I say is confidence is cute, but let's be realistic, you know? And I feel like that's very, very important. So we are now, oh, we have a question.
Ooh.
Can you see it too, Tamesha?
Oh, yes. I have been seeing people talk about eating based on your blood type. Is there any truth to this? There is some research that talks about, I haven't yet tried the blood type diet. From what I've heard, it actually has helped some people. And I think that's just one of those things where it just depends. Like, it's hard because it's probably one of those things that they haven't had enough people honestly, to do it, to know like what it's going to look like long-term outcomes. But it is something that has been helpful for some people. I haven't personally tried it, but I do know someone who has, and they said for them it was very effective and helpful.
And I can see how it could be, because with our different blood types, there are different minerals, there are different deficiencies that are specific to different blood types. So it would make sense, like, okay, if you have a certain blood type that's just naturally anemic, then that would help you, like as far as having iron in your diet daily. Like I think that it helps in that. But again, I think it's one of those things where we have to be like bees, you know, you go from flower to flower, take what you need, take what works for you, what you can apply to your life, and then whatever else, leave it for the next person, So I love that question. Thank you so much for that question. And I hope we answered the question. And we're basically telling you to go ahead and do that research. If it's something that you're interested in, by all means, please explore it, see what's out there, because I think that's very important. Since it's not one size fits all, you have to figure out what works for you, and that's going to take trial and error. So I wanted to talk about the different kinds of relationships that we have, and then you can chime in as I go. So I took some notes for comfort eating. So apparently, comfort eating is a little different from stress eating, just in case people out there that are like, I'm not a stress eater. Okay, so comfort eating is is for pleasure. So we normally comfort eat when we are relaxed or bored. And during COVID-19, 2020, it's been a lot of us just at home, Netflix and binge watching and eating up everything that's in the cupboards. Okay, that's not nailed down. Stress eating is something that you do to find relief from anxiety, anger, sadness, depression. So I love that. But I also, going back to not guilting ourselves, stress eating can also be a form of punishment. And that was something very interesting to me, as far as eating being a way of punishing yourself. I never considered that. I always think of it as an escape or for pleasure, but actually punishment. I thought that was very, very interesting. So we're going to round this up. We want solutions. We've raised your awareness. You can follow Tamesha on here on IG. She's going to give you her handle before we get out of here. But here are some solutions. So there are some ways that you can cope with your stress eating that won't result in you gaining weight or eating yourself into a condition where your body is attacking itself or it's unable to function properly. Stress in and of itself already affects us mentally, physically, socially, behaviorally. So the different ways that we choose to cope add on to that stress. So it's very important for me, my stress management class, to give you solutions. So some solutions are, when you start getting those cravings, maybe going for a walk, maybe getting some physical exercise in. Another is drinking something, consuming something to curb that appetite. So some great teas. Y'all know I love teas. So some awesome teas to help with your stress levels in general and also curb your appetite are chamomile and lavender tea. You can have them at any time during the day. Okay, so I know sometimes they're like, this is sleepy time tea, this is morning tea. No, whenever you feel the need to drink that tea, drink that tea. And also taking magnesium supplements actually help to relax your muscles in general. Okay, so if you're taking that magnesium, you may be able to relax a bit more in general anyway, because again, this stress eating thing isn't just us looking at food and saying, oh, we want it. It's actually becomes a part of our body where our body tells us, oh, we want this. We're craving things and not even knowing that our body is actually relaying messages to the brain to eat these things. Oftentimes you may be stress eating and not even know that you're eating. So I wanted to ask you, what are some of your top foods for an anti-inflammatory diet?
Ooh, that's such a good question. So, like, I would say, I'm trying to think if I should do that category. I'm just going to name the ones that I love. So, I would say something like avocados. Like, I know some people have not so love for avocados, but I think it's really good because it's like a great omega-3 fatty acid, but it's also just like something that is very satiating. It's nourishing. It kind of goes in everything. You can make, desserts out of it, or you can just eat the avocado. So that's always going to be my favorite one. And then number two actually would be chocolate, which a lot of people think like chocolate isn't one that would be on this list, but it actually is very anti-inflammatory. And the great thing about chocolate too is that you don't need a lot of it. So if you get just like, I try to go for, if you're going to do chocolate, not milk chocolate, I should make sure I say that, go for like a dark chocolate, but you can just take a little bit of a square and then have it with your chamomile tea or something. And that's just all you need. It's something that can help you ease. It can help you de-stress. And then you said 5, right? Let me think about my third one. My third one, I'm about to say, what I say, I like citrus. So like some type of citrus fruit would also be a nice, great option. Like I said, it could be something that you can have as a snack. It can also be something that you would have at night. And then this one, I see number 4. It technically isn't a food, but I always put in a food, is actually kombucha. I love kombucha. I make my own homemade kombucha. But it's
Ooh, fancy.
I know it's super easy to make. And this is like, look, I can't do the sourdough bread thing, but I can make some kombucha. But I
Right.
love kombucha because it's definitely something that is nourishing. It's anti-inflammatory. And I'm trying to think of what the 5th one would be. Well, you gave me some, that was good. Now I'm like, what would be number 5? I'm like, what would be a good last one? I know I love my kombucha. I don't know what my number 5 would be. That's a tricky one.
Okay, well, I'll help. I'll throw it in for
Yes.
number 5 for the assist. Phoning a friend who wants to be a millionaire. Dum dum. Cilantro.
Oh, that's such a good one. I love it. I didn't name a seasoning. What was I? I think like any herb.
I love cilantro. It's actually really, really great for you, and it's delicious in absolutely everything. Uh, so cilantro actually helps with anxiety. It
Mhm.
removes toxic metals from your body. It helps with blood flow. Okay,
Mhm.
so listen, just sprinkle a little cilantro on there like Salt Bay. Now we had another question.
Oh, yes.
First, the question is, what is a good sugar-free chocolate? Do you know of any?
Well, I would just say any dark chocolate. You know what I mean? Like I would, because you think about it, any dark chocolate or cacao, it's gonna be just the chocolate. Like I personally don't go for like milk chocolates or chocolates that are mixed with like sugar and stuff. Like I would just go for the straight chocolate. And that's the thing. Like the thing about it is not gonna be like it's not gonna be sweet because it's dark. So I would like so that's the reason why you go for it because then you're not gonna, well, at least most people aren't gonna eat a whole big bar of dark chocolate. Some people might, maybe you're into that, but like go for the like dark chocolate, 70% or higher, probably 85%, 92 would be really good. The darker the better.
Mm-hmm. Ew. But and dark chocolate also actually has magnesium in it. So
Yeah.
going to that being able to relax your muscles. So we're not going to keep you all too long. We're not going to keep you here all night. Again, this is all about raising awareness. So I hope we've piqued your interest. See, I love that you love dark chocolate. And we're hoping that you go out there and do more research. Feel free contact either one of us. So, Tamesha, could you be so kind as to, if you have a website, go ahead and let us know what that is. let us know what your Instagram handle is as well so that people can contact you.
Thank you. I am at Tamesha Campbell on Instagram. It's spelled Tom Isha, blame my daddy Tom. You know, he wanted to name me after him. And then I am at afitnessmindset.com. That's afitnessmindset.com.
Okay. Yes, yes. I love that. I love that. And since April is Stress Awareness Month, I will be having these conversations live every week about different stressors and different ways to cope. These will actually not be posted here on Instagram. So if you missed tonight's live, you're going to have to find me on YouTube under The Hathor Experience. I did not get creative. Everything is spelled traditionally. So The Hathor, Hathor Experience, to experience more ways to cope with stress healthily and holistically. Because the thing of it is that stress is like avocados or like fat in general. There is good stress and there's bad stress. So it's all about you finding a healthy medium. Okay, so that's it. That's all I got. Tamesha, would you like to add anything else?
The only thing, just thank you so much, Hathor. I'm so excited to be on here. It was an honor to do this with you, and I can't wait to have you on my page. We got to definitely talk about doing that as well.
Yes, yes, there will be a part 2. So y'all have to follow Tamesha because we will be going live on her page next. So until next time, the next time you lift that fork or spoon or hand to your mouth, think about what you're eating. Think about why you're eating it and think about what it's doing to your body. Okay, again, remembering that our relationship with food was created by our environment. Oftentimes, we relate it to love, we relate it to fellowship, okay? We relate it to rewards. Okay, so finding other ways to reward yourself. How about rewarding yourself with the gift of health? I don't know. That's it. That's all I got. All righty, everyone. Until next time. Peace.